I mean, Joe would be ripe for indictment.
He's saying it out loud. If Trump somehow gets back into power, two things are guaranteed to happen. The first is Trump will arrest his enemies. And secondly, he'll never leave.
I mean, Joe would be ripe for indictment. So you're saying that Trump shouldn't get immunity, but Joe Biden would? I didn't do anything like he did. I ran a great country. One of the reasons he's so soft on China is because he received a lot of money from China, and he's afraid to do anything about it or say anything because he knows. He's afraid to say, we have a Manchurian candidate in Joe Biden. We have to get him out.
This is the problem. None of what he said is true. Biden was investigated by Republicans, and what did they find?
You got nothing.
And the China BS? There's no money here. The Russian asset who was feeding this information to Beavis and Butthead was arrested for lying and said there was never any money given to the Bidens. So did Rudy's former henchman, Lev Parnas, who not only said this,
I found precisely zero evidence of the Biden's corruption in Ukraine. No credible source has ever provided proof of criminal activity, not the FBI, CIA, nor the NSA. No respectable Ukrainian official has ever said that the Bidens did anything illegal, including former President Poroshenko and former Prosecutor General Yuri Lutsenko.
but he also met with Trump on numerous occasions and was told to try to destroy Biden any way possible.
Donald Trump was aware of everything that was going on.
And for the record, Donnie Thugmonkey should stay away from metaphors.
Joe Biden has opened a giant Pandora's box.
Trump thinks a Pandora's box is a sex toy you buy online. The Republican Party is planning to make Trump a dictator.
I want to be a dictator.
Oh, you think I exaggerate? Here's Comer saying it out loud.
I want to hold accountability. That's what we said all along. We said when we launched the investigation, we want to provide the truth to the American people. Does it look like impeaching Joe Biden in the House and then the Senate? Or does it mean providing real criminal referrals to the Department of Justice?
We couldn't impeach him, so we'll arrest him when Trump wins.
The fact that he did communicate often with these people. So now we want to hold accountability. And I believe that the best path to accountability is criminal referrals.
But Jimmy, you're lying through that fat hole in your head. You don't believe me? Ask these guys.
Your party, the Republican investigators, say that that's proof of influence peddling by Hunter and James. But that's just your suggestion. You don't actually have any facts to that point. You've got some circumstantial evidence. And the other thing is, of all those names, the one person who didn't profit is there's no evidence that Joe Biden did anything illegally.
So Comer sent out a fundraising email that is a blueprint for the Republican Party moving forward. We will prosecute Biden for crimes that we were not only unable to prove, but our fellow Republicans knew were false. And when called out by Representative Moskowitz, our two little man sacks shriveled up inside us.
The chairman has not yet moved for that. And so, look, Chairman, we got like 3.5 minutes here. I mean, let's just do the impeachment. I mean, why continue to waste millions of dollars of the taxpayers' money if we're going to impeach because you believe you've shown he's committed a high crime and misdemeanor? What are you waiting on? Let's just do it. I mean, by the way, we got Chairman Jordan here also, the double chairman. Why aren't you guys calling for the vote in your committee? When is it going to happen? When can we tell the American people you're going to stop wasting their money and just call for the vote? And what you're admitting is you haven't yet proven that he's committed a high crime and misdemeanor. You haven't proven it yet. Otherwise, you would call for it, I assume.
He whines like a little bitch.
A lot of things happened today. This is all about election interference. This is all Biden-run things, meaning Biden and his thugs, because I don't know if he knows he's alive.
But let me say this again for the ragdoll Republican snowflakes. Listen up. Trump's criminal prosecutions aren't from some Biden decree or left-wing prosecutors. Grand juries composed of American citizens heard the evidence and indicted this pathetic mope. Seriously, the Republican House impeachment inquiry failed to indict Biden because the only evidence they had that Hunter Biden and the president were dirty came from a lying source who told the FBI the information came from Putin.
Putin's a killer. Why, you think our country's so innocent?
But here's what should worry and frighten every American heading into this election. The polls are finally beginning to reflect Americans' fears about Trump and add that to Trump's understanding that if Biden wins, he will go to jail. The cases against tiny fingers are strong, and unless Trump is president and dismisses them, he will lose and face a sentencing that could have him die in jail. So Trump is planning for that possibility that he might lose the electoral vote. And work is underway to get states whose voters elect Biden to have their electors replaced by those who would elect Trump. One of the architects of this crime was the very hump NBC just fired, Ronna McDaniel. Comer's fundraising letter is a ham-fisted lie, comparing Biden with Trump, except for the fact that Trump is the one facing 91 indictments and civil fines for lying to banks in the state of New York.
Impeachment inquiry was meant to give us more tools to be able to gather more information to be able to win in court.
Comer is speaking to probably the most uninformed mob of Americans ever assembled outside of a mental institution. Compare. Here's a Biden supporter answering questions from a Trump pawn.
Tell me 3 Democratic policies that you support.
Inflation Reduction Act, American Rescue Plan, the Infrastructure Law, the PACT Act, the Chips and Science Act. I can go on.
And here's one of the people on James Comer's mailing list.
Obama is playing Sleepy Joe Biden in a mask.
If Trump somehow takes the White House, and it won't be via the popular vote, which Trump will lose again by millions of votes, how will this go down? In the past, the DOJ had carte blanche to investigate the party in charge, and that was a strong and important piece of the executive branch's appeal. When Nixon fired the special prosecutor during Watergate, that was the beginning of his end, but it was political. Nixon had the right to fire him, but the optics tore him down. Compare that to Trump firing Comey because Comey was investigating Trump's connections with Russia.
During that Oval Office meeting with senior Russian officials last week, President Trump ripping into the FBI director he'd just fired, calling James Comey crazy, a real nut job, according to the New York Times that was read a document summarizing the meeting. Explaining the firing, Mr. Trump said, "I faced great pressure because of Russia. That's taken off."
Trump dismantled the DOJ to protect him and learned a valuable lesson. Keep lying and never give in.
Win, lose, or draw in this election, will you commit here today for a peaceful transferal of power after the election? There has been rioting in Louisville. There's been rioting in many cities across this country, red and your so-called red and blue states. Will you commit to making sure that there is a peaceful transferal of power after the election?
Well, we're going to have to see what happens. You know that I've been complaining very strongly about the ballots, and the ballots are a disaster.
That's my friend Brian Karem, a White House reporter, pushing Trump on whether he would leave office. Brian's question was prescient in many ways. Trump instigated a coup in his attempt to hold on to power, attacking the Capitol with an army of insurrectionists, with over 1,000 going to jail. On day one, Trump would free them, and on day two, well, we're getting clues. But to follow up on Brian Karem's question, if Trump somehow takes power again, what then? For how long will this nightmare last? Trump has acknowledged he will arrest his political enemies, and now his MAGA pug is pushing it forward. But I can hear you now. This can't really happen. Not here, not now. Can it?
By the time our term is over in 16 years,
12 more years, 16 more years.
Ha! President for life, that sounds good.
Now 12 more years.
Now, if you want to drive them crazy, go 12 more years, 16 more years.
This is a story with an unwritten ending. The question is, who do you want to finish it?
Who's with me?
Am I wrong?
Damn right. Yes! You can't let that happen to me. Tick-tock, mother. This isn't their Republican Party anymore.
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
Follow, like, and hit notifications as Really American keeps you up to date on the latest Republican cult lie in this very important year. For Really American, I'm Chip Franklin.